Brescia High School. She will be sharing her personal experience as a Matric and how she has managed the challenges of COVID head on.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I'm going to be discussing my experiences with you from two viewpoints. So I'm going to share my perspectives from the point of view of a learner and student who has coped with the challenges of transitioning between direct face-to-face learning to remote learning. And then I'm also going to talk you through my adventures of being in a global pandemic and being a student leader. So as a Matric learner, from that point of view, I've faced two main challenges. But before I actually explain my challenges, I think it's very important for me to state that everything that I say today is coming from a position of absolute privilege. I've had full access to internet connection. I own my own laptop from which I could do all my work. And my school, Brescia High School, transitioned almost flawlessly from the campus classroom to the virtual classroom because of our school's advanced technology and technological departments, and as well as the fact that we use the Microsoft Teams platform, and I have been using it for a while before the COVID-19 pandemic. So I am speaking from a vantage point of privilege, and these challenges would also come from that perspective. But ultimately, the two main challenges that I've actually concluded that I faced was, firstly, a rapid change and adapting to that change. And secondly, it was the whole idea of self-discipline. So if we look at the rapid change and adapting to that change, I think on Monday, the 16th of March, we were in a contact classroom. And if you fast forward one week to the 23rd of March, the classroom was virtual. And I think Matric in itself, and the thought of Matric without a global pandemic is extremely stressful. There's this year with a very heavy workload. You are working towards trying to obtain a great portfolio mark and trying to reach your full potential in the final exams, which is what it's ultimately all about. And then with COVID-19, I felt like everything that I was used to for my whole high school career and everything that was considered normal, for example, the methods of teaching, the form of testing, and my own methods of learning and doing work, it had to become completely different and almost forced in the name of adapting. And so now, come to August, 5 months later, I think if I could go back with the knowledge I have now to the 15th of March, I'd definitely be able to cope with online learning. But initially, I found myself falling behind in my subjects. I was struggling to get through the resources that I had been given, and at times I was struggling to understand a lot of the work because I'm so used to sitting in front of the classroom, taking notes down, listening so intently, and also, which will be actually my next topic, but having the teachers literally spoon feeding us our work. And without the teachers there walking me through all of the detail every step of the way, I did struggle initially in the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's because I was not used to this new way of doing school. But over time, things definitely got better because ultimately it takes time to figure out what does work and what doesn't work. And it takes time to adapt to change. And I think that one of my biggest challenges was actually that the transition was so rapid. No one really thought that we would go completely shut down and schools would have to become virtual. So that was my first challenge. And then the second main challenge that I faced personally as a learner was definitely self-discipline and actually pushing myself. And I actually think it relates to what Professor Jonathan said about the social environments and learning with people who are all around you. But in the remote environments, I'm being very honest, it's actually easy to get away with doing nothing. You don't have your teacher standing directly in front of you, checking if you're filling in your notes. You can mute the microphone, you can turn off your camera, and you can blissfully think to yourself, this lesson is being recorded. I I can watch it later. And I was a victim of that at times. And ultimately, what I realized slightly too late was that if you're not disciplined, you really are sabotaging yourself. And so I did struggle with the aspects of discipline because, as I said previously, you're not surrounded by a room full of people who bring energy to the environment. And it's easy to think I'm going to do this tomorrow, and tomorrow actually never comes. And then it's the day before the test or the week before the exam, and you're cramming the work that you could have done when you had time, and you're not doing it effectively. And at the end of the day, there is only so much so this is really from a student perspective, there's only so much the teachers can do. For example, my mathematics teacher, and this also once again relates to what Professor Jonathan said, I think definitely maths was the biggest struggle during the COVID-19 pandemic, but I know at least for the Brescia Matrics, our mathematics department nailed it. We received a schedule with a day-to-day schedule for every single lesson. Our teacher made videos that correlated to our school notes. And not only that, we would then have lessons where whatever was done in the videos and notes, we went through and our teacher made sure everything was explained and we understood that work. And then in our online lessons, we went and actually did more practice examples. So there's only so much the teacher can do and then it's up to you to have the self-discipline to not mute the microphone, to not go onto YouTube, onto your cell phone, and to actually do the work and put in your own work, especially when there aren't people around you forcing you to concentrate. So by the April holidays, we had probably done about 3 weeks of online school. By the time the April holidays came, because of my lack of self-discipline, I actually ended up spending quite a bit of time in the April holidays catching up work. But I also knew then, I was aware of how online learning worked and what to expect in May. And I did make several changes from the remote learning that I did in April to the remote learning that I did in May. So the first change that I made was I created a timetable, and whenever I wasn't in a lesson, I gave time to specific subjects and I allocated an amount of work that had to be done in that time. And that pushed me not to procrastinate, because if you've allocated an amount of work and given it a set amount of time, you shouldn't, didn't give myself the opportunity to fall behind. Another big change was that I removed my cell phone from the room that I was in during those learning hours of online school, because it's so easy to get distracted. And then finally, I tried to keep my camera, which I actually didn't do all the time, but I did try to keep my camera on during the remote lessons, because if the camera's on, then you are more willing to engage in the online lessons. And then you know that my teacher can also see me. So that is an aspect that forces you to concentrate. And then from the perspective of a student leader, so usually in most schools, the matrics are the leaders of the school for their year, for their grade 12 year. And I was saddened initially. I was very upset by the fact that the matrics wouldn't be able to spread our influence and create new traditions and create new ways of interacting with the girls and our learners because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So initially I felt let down by the year. And what actually COVID-19 forced us to do was, I don't think we actually missed out on that much of student leadership, because although we were not able to meet in as large groups in assemblies or meetings, as a matric group and as a student leaders, we were actually just forced to think innovatively and out of the box for new ways to keep our committees running. But more so, it wasn't even so much about keeping the committees running as it was about trying to figure out ways to keep the Brescia girls involved in activities other than academics, because it's easy to fall into a trap when you're in lockdown of doing schoolwork and not really interacting with other people or staying involved in your community. So what we did as the student leaders, basically Brescia has a structure where the matrics and the girls in the grade are separated into different committees. So we have, for example, a servium committee, a sports committee, a cultural committee, and we have 8 committees, each a different type that relates to a different aspect. So spiritual, servium, eco, as I've mentioned. And what we did was we actually just put together an online communication plan. Ultimately, everything that we did as the Matrics was done through WhatsApp groups, because every single grade has a WhatsApp group and all of the girls are on each grade WhatsApp group. We liked WhatsApp because it's instant communication and it's very easy to share different forms of media. So videos, photos, links, long messages to all the girls in a quick amount of time. So WhatsApp was great. And we got the 2 Matric mentors and myself on each WhatsApp group. And ultimately what we did was on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, we would send through a video from a different committee, each either on Tuesday or Thursday, and it would either update the girls with what was still happening in the committee, or send them a motivational, inspirational message, or keep them happy with a humorous video. And it was videos of the Brescia House girls so that the girls could see each other. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, we actually sent out student challenges, and we were able to effectively get the girls to actually do the student challenges by using an app called the Goose Chase app, where you upload pictures of yourself completing the challenges, and then there's actually rankings to see who's completed the most challenges, as well as a feed where you can actually view the pictures that people have uploaded. And examples of challenges that we did was a Zumba class held by our House and Spirit committee, and it was all online, and all the girls came online and followed like an instructor on one of the laptops. We did build an eco brick challenge where we encouraged girls to make one of those plastic bricks, the empty cupboard challenge where we encourage girls in their free time during lockdown to clean out their cupboards, fill a black bag with secondhand pre-loved items, and then to donate that black bag. So we did a lot of different things to keep the girls engaged on a level that wasn't only academics. And then also, so Brescia House School is a Catholic school, and we did a mass. So one of the days we actually, when the Matrics were still back at school, our liturgy committee organized for the Bryanston Parish priest to come to the Brescia House Chapel, and we live streamed a mass. And then every single morning we actually sent through links or prayers to the grade groups so that the girls could begin their day with devotion. And I think that was it's important just to keep like the spiritual aspects, the aspect of service, the aspect of sporting and culture activities. We sent links to tea time concerts so that girls would still be able to showcase their talents, their cultural talents. And so it was a good way to learn new ways of doing things. And finally, almost every single Monday, every second Monday, we would do an assembly, which would be live streamed to the entire school. So I think coronavirus stopped everything, but at the same time, everyone adapted and we continued just on an online platform. And now we have so many new skills and ways of interacting. So I'm grateful for the experience. Thank you.